this company could not continue. And that's why when they did the third activity at KICC, we did not even allow them to go. And again, in answer to the concern raised by the member for Tharaka, it was not necessary to stop people from assembling, but it was necessary for us to stop people from committing crime. And we stopped and asked and dispersed that congregation on that day. And the rest is history. The following day, again, based on the daily reports, we were very clear that these people could not be allowed to continue with what they are doing. In other words, Honorable Speaker, from where I sit as the Interior Minister of the country, I'm satisfied that we were cautious enough without disrupting business and people's activities, and we acted timely and timeously in our view. Lastly, so that the other issues can be responded to by my colleague, the CS for ICT, on the issue as to whether perhaps there's anything else we could have done. I think there was a general feeling that perhaps the government could have acted faster. I would like to say that generally we've made very good progress, and we were able to freeze at the point where the red flag was raised. We have frozen the movement of any person, whether Kenyan or foreign, associated with that activity. And we are on our radar, all the people associated with this enterprise, with this entity, even those who are abroad, and we are using our legal instruments on mutual legal assistance to ensure that those people, as is likely to be the case, will be held accountable. We believe, without preempting the investigations where we are, Mr. Speaker, I would like to inform the House and the country that we believe that crimes have been committed. Crimes against the Data Protection Act, crimes against privacy of the people of Kenya, crimes within the Penal Code, and we will hold those who have committed those crimes accountable, whether they're Kenyans or not. So we have frozen and we have on our radar all the people of interest. Some of them, especially the local ones, have recorded statements. We'll also be requesting the surrender of those who are outside our territory so that they can also record statements. And finally, that we believe that what happened on the e-Citizens platform was an attempt to hack, was not really hacking, but there was a serious attempt to hack into the system. We have taken serious upscaling of the system under the NC4 arrangement, which brings together the Interior Ministry as the coordinating agency, Department of Defense, ICT, and NIS. And I want to assure the people of Kenya, we should not fear technology, but we should be very alert so that technology does not bring our national interest into disarray. So, Honorable Speaker, I think there is no cause of alarm on both issues, the WorldCoin issue, the issue of the attempted hacking into our e-Citizen platform. We are alert and we remain amenable to the input of Parliament so that we can improve our systems and serve our country better. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Eliud Owalo, you have something to add?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, just a few more pertinent issues to clarify to honorable members. Honorable Omboko Milemba alluded to a possible difference in the stance taken by myself and my colleague from the Ministry of Interior. I want to state that at no point in the course of this episode has there been a discordance between the position I took and that of the CS responsible for the functional mandate of Interior and Security. What I did state one morning during a TV interview was that at the point when WorldCoin was being registered, they had met the threshold, the prerequisites necessary for purposes of registration. There's a difference between the bare minimum requirements that you need to possess for purposes of registration and conformity to the attendant rules, regulations, and operational guidelines. Mr. Speaker, mere registration is not a blanket certificate for non-conformity to the operational rules and guidelines. And this is why, on a continuous basis, upon registration, there are mechanisms through which government monitors the conformity or otherwise to the attendant rules and regulations. But I did also state that morning that there were investigations going on. In the course of operationalization, certain issues had emerged. And as government, we were looking at issues pertaining to conformity to the set rules and guidelines. There were issues pertaining to security. There were also issues pertaining to policy, laws, and regulations, which we were attending to as government. And in the course of that very day, government was going to take action. And that is exactly what my colleague, CS Professor Kindiki, did in conformity to what I had stated earlier on. Two, Mr. Speaker, was the issue of whether or not foreigners could be interested in our data. Granted, data is the new oil, and we cannot block our eyes from the possible interest in our data by foreign entities. But I believe that as we speak, that is subject to the ongoing investigations, and at the tail end of that exercise, we will be able to ascertain the authenticity or otherwise of those fears pertaining to foreign interest in our data. And once that is done, we will make that information available to both Parliament and the larger Kenyan public, Mr. Speaker. As we speak, it is subject to the ongoing investigations. I believe those are the two other issues that, on the issue of innovation and security. Mr. Speaker, innovation is constant in the world of today because we are operating in a dynamic operational environment where technology is the in thing, technology is in the horizon. Kenya as a country cannot be an exception. What we need to do is to ensure that as we innovate, as we embrace technology, we are also simultaneously ensuring that we don't expose the country unwarrantedly to possible cyber attacks. And this is why we are putting in place an elaborate mechanism, risk mitigation framework, to ensure that as we digitalize our records and digitalize our services, we are not exposing ourselves to cyber attacks, but conversely, we are putting in place an elaborate risk mitigation framework. The issue of the composition of the multi-agency team, that team entails membership from various facets of the Kenyan government, Mr. Speaker.
That has been answered by Kindiki.
Thank you.
Dido Raso.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to pose to the CSs. There are almost believed to be over 4 million Kenyans who are trading in Bitcoins. And what happened recently, where the iris was being scanned, actually it is believed to be the most intrusive data gathering. And it also borders on what is called collection of data for artificial intelligence. So for that reason, if we are saying that by the next 10 years, everything in Kenya will be on e-government, e-this, e-that. So for me as a legislator, the question I wish to pose to you is how much are we ahead in terms of saying, yes, there must be a red line that Kenyans should be not asked for this or that, because the banks can go for this, or any entity. You can imagine the collection of this data was done because Kenyans were being paid $49. And I think that is really absurd. So for that reason, the Minister for ICT, tell us on the issue of artificial intelligence, and that Kenyans are not being used as some sort of data collection entity for a specific reason, much beyond business. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Give Mama Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na swali langu linaenda kwa mawaziri wote wawili. Ilianza kwanza na M-Pesa, watu wakawa wanaingia wanaibia wananchi pesa. Ikaingia kuna mmoja alijilipa pesa kama mbunge wa bunge hili, na ilikuwa kumbe ni story alflela ulela. Mwisho mmenyamaza mpaka imefika kuwa taifa la Kenya tunapoteza takwimu zetu, tunapata watu wameingia kwenye system na Kenya inakuwa kabisa iko blackout. Nataka nimuulize waziri wa usalama. Umesema vile ulivyofanya usalama katika mambo ya maandamano ukawa successful. Mimi nataka nikuulize katika data ya Kenya ambayo ni muhimu, manake hata Shakahola pia ilikupata off guard na hii pia imekupata off guard. Unaweza kuambia nini wa Kenya mwaka mzima ambao umemaliza kuwa usalama wa Kenya uko thabiti katika mikono yako? Asante sana.
The member for Kimilili. Give him a functioning mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a very simple question. By the time that this company was applying registration, it was evident that other governments were cracking them down. Why did the government of Kenya fail to carry out due diligence before they allowed this company to operate in Kenya? This is very important, Honorable Speaker, because it will therefore mean that tomorrow or the day after, somebody can come here, register a company, even harvest kidneys for Kenyans and leave this country. The second question, Honorable Speaker, is that the two ministers have used the word investigations more than 5 times. I want them to assure this House that the government of Kenya is going to invest in crime prevention so that we don't behave as if we are reactionary to carry out investigations. Maybe these people who came here, the WorldCoin, they have already gotten what they wanted. They have shut down their system and they have left. So the ministers should assure Kenyans that they are going to invest heavily in crime prevention so that we don't hear these things about investigations are going on. The crime has been committed already. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I will ask only 2 questions.
Ask one.
Okay, let me say this, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
The first question, Honorable Speaker, I'm just wondering, and I'm a person who has a finance background, the issue of cryptocurrency and the issue of the eyes, where is the connection? The second question, Honorable Speaker, and allow me to ask this important, Honorable Speaker. The second question, Honorable Speaker, this country, would I be in order to say there is a disconnect between intelligence collection and what the security arms are doing? Because I see us being reactive instead of being proactive. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Member next to Kamket. Member for Kajiado North, yes. Give him the mic.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the CSS present, and specifically the CS Kindiki. Under our laws, bribery is a crime. The people who are the WorldCoin people, they were paying a token for them to get something from you. And because
7,000 cannot be a token. That's a lot of money.
yes, they were, no, my apologies, Mr. Speaker. They were paying 7,000. That means that is bribery, because they are giving you something for them to get something from you. Out of the charges that you have said there are crimes that have been committed, I would want you to come out clear that you will charge somebody for bribery, because bribery is against the laws of the Republic of Kenya. Number two, on the information that they picked from people. This house, when we asked this question, we asked ourselves, where did they take it? Where is that information? The statement, Mr. Speaker, did not bring out the issue of where is the information that they had already picked from people. Because even as we talk of the future, what they did on that particular day on the specific individuals. And because I have a lot of confidence with the Honorable Kindiki, I want you to answer me that question, because I know you're very capable, unlike what the Honorable Zamzam wants to intend, that you do not know how to do things. I know you are capable, competent, and the Honorable Kindiki is a straight shooting professor. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mawade. Is that Mawade next to, or is it Basil?
Mawade.
Mawade, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the question to the CS Interior and also the ICT CS. This was a very huge lapse on our security, because if we can allow some strangers to come in and harvest the identification biometrics of Kenyans, what will they be able to do next? The other question is, just a few days earlier, we had seen our systems, our IT systems being hacked. Yes, we may deny, we can use all good English, but our IT system were interrupted by strangers. What measures are we taking to ensure, one, that doesn't happen again? Two, as far as the Interior CS is concerned, what measures are we taking again as to ensure that the harvesting of people's biodata will not happen again? Also, where is this information being?
Yes, what's the out of order, Ruku?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is the member in order to ask a question which already has been answered clearly by the two ministers, unless the member was not in this house or he was asleep when that question is asking, when it was being addressed by the two ministers in a very appropriate manner. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. A member has a right to ask order. Order, Mawade. A member has a right to ask a question if he is not satisfied with the previous answer. Kindiki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah. Order. Yes, Mawade.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Hold on.
There's no way. There is no way that will allow somebody to go. No, Mr. Speaker, he must withdraw. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
It is very wrong. Let me start off.
I've already defended.
Yes,
you.
allow me. Just allow me, Mr. Speaker. It is very wrong for the mono to say something that is not derogatory about the other member. He must withdraw. He must withdraw. Otherwise, we will engage. We are polite, but we are not afraid. We will engage. That's not the right way to go about it. He must.
Sit down. Honorable Mawade. Order. Kindiki. The last one. Ministers, get ready.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask the two cabinet secretaries. This Data Protection Commission, under which ministry does the Data Protection Unit lie? And two, the Data Protection Unit has been carrying out investigations on the activities of the matter at hand. Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask my question through you. Mr. Speaker, my question is to the two ministers. Under which ministry does the Data Protection Unit belong to? Mr. Speaker, we know this Data Protection Unit in the former government was a unit that was being used for other purposes. Mr. Speaker, you know that this department was aware of the activities of this company at hand a few months ago. And up to now, we are being told this unit is still carrying out investigations. How confident can we be on the operations and the management of this unit? Because we haven't gotten a clear answer from them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, there is one question that I asked that have not been answered. And this question is very important because it touches on the matter and the people who are expecting money from this site. Honorable Speaker, the site, the WorldCon site, right now has been pulled down. And this site, Honorable Speaker, is the one that is holding the 7,000 that these people who scanned their irises are expecting that money. Honorable Speaker, I'm asking a simple question. The shutting down of this site, does it relate in any way to the investigation that is ongoing? Or, Honorable Speaker, these people have taken what they wanted and they have ran away? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Ministers.
Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable Mawade. Why is your hand up in the air all the time?
Honorable Speaker, in response to the question whether the country is safe, Mr. Speaker, I want to assure the House and the country that Kenya is safe. I also want to add that as we go towards a technological world, we must, as a nation, be alive to the fact that the risks that exist in the physical space are the same risks that exist in the digital space. So one of the reasons why perhaps this particular threat that we experienced looks a bit unique is because this is a new space. And Mr. Speaker, I want to prepare the country that even as we go towards embracing technology as we must be alive to the fact that there are risks in the digital space of an equal nature, if not greater, than the risks in the physical space. Honorable Speaker, another concern or supplementary issue which has been raised is the need for us to clarify whether we are prepared to deal with the risks in the digital space in the same manner as we have dealt with other threats to our national security. Mr. Speaker, sir, I confirm in the affirmative that the government will deal with all threats to our national security wherever they arise from, whether from the physical space, the digital space, from the technology space, or any space whatsoever. And therefore, this is a serious threat just like terrorism. It's a serious threat just like banditry. It's a serious threat just like trade in narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances. It is a threat just like those who want to intimidate us to use politics to commit crime. We will be firm with all threats to our national security wherever they arise. Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, a question has been asked on the money that was promised to the people of Kenya in exchange for their data. Honorable Speaker, I would not like to speak a lot on this area because we, as I have said, we have made great steps in the investigations, and I don't want to preempt investigations. But allow me, Honorable Speaker, to say that from us, as security managers, as the Ministry of Interior, what raised the red flag was the monetary inducement. For us, that is one of the earliest indications. And the moment it became apparent that that exercise that started, as I said, it was done for 2 days, and on the third day, we were clear that crimes are being committed from where we sit. So if, or rather, that inducement for us is an area of concern. The other red flag, other than the area of inducement, is that we suspect, again, that our understanding of the data protection law is that the processors of data must obtain consent. We are of the opinion that if at all any consent was sought, which is doubtful, that consent was not informed consent. And that's why we believe we will nail down people, we'll pin down people. It's just a matter of time. Honorable Speaker, a question has been asked on whether we are investing in crime prevention, and I want to answer in the affirmative. Because going forward, we are increasingly investing and concentrating on preventing crime before it happens, or arresting crime in the earliest opportunity, without, again, and I think this is an important clarification, Honorable Speaker, without, again, overly interfering with the ordinary activities that are allowed under the law. So by the time we come in, we must have reasonable grounds to suspect that crimes are being committed. Honorable Speaker, the other issue has been raised is on why we took a bit of time and only acted after things started happening. I would like to say the activities of this entity are not just the subject matter of a security investigation in Kenya alone. There are many other countries around the world, a few countries, and many of them are first world countries who are asking the same questions that we're asking today, including 2 countries in Europe, 1 country in Asia. So I don't think it is fair to say that perhaps the Kenyan authorities have not been prudent or alert enough, because I know the same issues have been raised in the United Kingdom, in France, in India, in Germany, and a few other countries. Honorable Speaker, we are certain that we will bring accountability, and I think there is no cause of alarm. In terms of the data which have been harvested so far, Honorable Speaker, we have preservation orders that data should not be processed. We have a court order, but we are informed by the experts that even if such data is already stored in the cloud, we are informed that it is still retrievable. And therefore, again, there is no cause of alarm because we already know our people, the numbers of our people that had already gone through this process. And then finally, Honorable Speaker, I would like to just assure the people of Kenya that I know we are a very political country, which is a good thing because democracy is supposed to bring the kind of vibrancy that we see in our space here as a country. But I want to plead with the representatives of the people, the honorable members, that on matters national security, we try and remove our politics and our democratic engagement from that space. That way, we'll be able to preserve the country for ourselves and our children. Thank you.
Speaker, I'm concerned that the cabinet secretaries are not treating this matter with the seriousness it deserves. Instead of getting responses as representatives of the people, we are getting lectures on things we know and the basis upon which we raised this issue with you. Honorable Speaker, I asked a simple question: whether this company as a foreign company is registered. And the Cabinet Secretary for Interior is saying it appears to be registered. The Cabinet Secretary in charge of ICT is saying it is registered, they are dealing with operational issues. Could we know, because there is a legal consequence to a foreign company doing business in the country if they are not registered, in which case, Honorable Speaker, even before we check what they are doing with the data mined, the foreign agents of the company should be in court, and the fine is prescribed in Section 974. Not lectures on democracy, what people should do.
Honorable Kaluma, I thought the minister had earlier said that the WorldCoin Group are not registered in Kenya, but they have local collaborators. Isn't that what you said? Yes. So your pursuit should be, who are the local collaborators? Are they going to be charged with conspiracy to commit crimes and all those other chains of criminal activities? And I think that is up to the minister to answer. Owalo, can we hear from the second minister before, unless it's a serious point of order? Yes, Honorable
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just arise on a point of order because, you know, the House has allowed the CSS to come and answer matters of concern to Kenyans. But the CS of Interior has just told us that he does not want issues that are political. Now, when members of this House ask questions, they are obviously political because we are representatives of the people. And I think that's what the Honorable Kaluma has alluded to. Instead of giving us a lecture, kindly just respond to our questions because there is no politics other than our representation of the people. Mr. Speaker, kindly guide the minister.
Zamzam, are you also on a point of order?
Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi swali langu lilikuwa tu dhahiri kuwa Kenya tuko katika hali tata ikiwa anga zetu zitakuwa zimeingiliwa. Na mheshimiwa pale alinikosoa akaweka kama ambayo namdhulumu yule minister, ni yale aliyosema rais wa taifa hili kuwa hawa ministers kuna vitu vingi hawavielewi. Mimi nimeuliza hii security ya nchi yetu iko sawa katika mikono yake kwa vile tumeingiliwa sana? Yeye amekuja anazungumza mambo ya siasa. Hapa si siasa kwa sababu hata mimi akaunti yangu pia ilikuwa hacked. Ndio maana nauliza, si masala ya siasa.
Owalo, we can't have endless chains of points of order.
Mr. Speaker, I think we had already indicated earlier, and I want to repeat, that WorldCoin as an entity is not a legally registered company in Kenya. Through the registrar, the Business Registration Service. But it is registered as a data collector. In terms of operationalization, WorldCoin has been undertaking its activities through a different entity, which is registered in Kenya. And it's on the basis of this.
Owalo, the issue that Kaluma was asking is, if this entity is not registered,
Yes.
why did you allow an entity that has no legal status to start collecting data from Kenyans? I think that is the big question.
The issue here, Mr. Speaker, we have got many...
And hand in hand with that, so that we save time, because your colleague is waiting behind there. You should also answer Makali Mulus. And I, as the Speaker of this House, went and also did some research on Bitcoins. And there's nowhere in the world I found that to trade in cryptocurrency, you have to have your iris mined by any company. So that is also something that should assure Kenyans and members of Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, WorldCoin was registered in Kenya as a data collector, not courtesy of the Business Registration Service. The prerequisites for purposes of registration as a data collector does not include or does not entail being registered as a company operating in Kenya. We are dealing with the digital space in this instance, Mr. Speaker. And there's many other companies operating in Kenya which are not legally registered by the Business Registration Service. The other issue was on the Office of the Data Commissioner, Mr. Speaker. The Office of the Data Protection Commissioner, for purposes...
Yes, Naomi Wako, what is your point of order?
Thank you.
All the Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to know why they have allowed them to collect our data. Simple. Yeah.
Minister, that is the bottom line, Minister.
Can we be a bit patient so that I do justice to this issue?
Okay.
The company that has been
give
collecting
the Minister
data.
an opportunity to answer. You have asked him questions, let him answer.
The company that has been collecting the data in Kenya is not WorldCoin. It is a surrogate of WorldCoin, Mr. Speaker. And these people have been apprehended by the security agencies. Two, the Office of the Data Commissioner, Mr. Speaker, operates under policy guidance from the Ministry of Information, Communication, and the Digital Economy.
Mary Kaitani, what is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, is it in order for the Cabinet Secretary for ICT to say that they can actually allow companies to operate in this country without any registration? Because that is, we've had his statement, and in his statement he's actually purporting that people can actually come into this country and operate without any registration. Can he tell us, is it in order for a company to come and operate in this country without proper registrations and proper identification before operations begin?
Minister, go on. Honorable members, let him finish answering. If I find it necessary to do another round, I will.
Mr. Speaker, I asked a question.
Honorable Eliud Owalo, are you done?
Yes, I just...
You are consulting.
Yeah, Honorable Speaker, we were consulting because, to the best of my mind, I am not sure that that obligation is in the current Data Protection Act, and for me, subject to confirmation, I just asked our PSC for ICT to confirm if that obligation is in the Data Protection Act in terms of procedure for registration. Mr. Speaker, protect me, I finish the answer, and then the member can, yeah. So, Mr. Speaker.
Let him finish. Let him finish order.
He wanted to answer according to the government, not according to his mind. According to the government.
Go on, Kindiki.
Mr. Speaker, to the best of my mind, the Data Protection Act does not obligate the registration of data processors to be companies registered under the law of Kenya. And I've said with a caveat, I could be wrong. If it does, then definitely that is an oversight. If it does not, then it means we must amend the law going forward in consonance with the sentiments by the members to make sure that that becomes an accountability, an extra accountability layer for the future.
Yes, honorable members, I want to end here. Order. Yes, Kakai Bissau, what is your point of order? Minister, go hold your horses. I've given the floor to Bissau.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Sitting here and listening at the way the two ministers are answering these questions, first of all, we have to remember that on that particular day, our country was under attack. And in fact, we thank you for coming together because now you give an impression that at least you're coordinating issues. But before that, we thought that you're completely not coordinating issues. What I want to say, Mr. Speaker, the CS internal security talked about it happened on the first day, they investigated on the second day, on the third day. That shows a lot of laxity. We cannot have such an issue where we are under attack. It takes 3 days and we are saying we investigated. I know technology is moving at a very fast pace. And this is not the first or the last time. We're gonna have most of these things happening. So what I would like the ministers to tell us, what are the mitigation measures you are putting in place so that when we have another technology attack, we are able to ensure that Kenyans are not suffering. And remember, those that were affected mostly were the people under the pyramid because there was some token given to them. So tell us what you're going to put in place to mitigate this. And lastly, we would like the perpetrators to be tabled and made it public. Thank you.
Kangoko Bowen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the confusion we saw between the two cabinet secretaries, Mr. Speaker, is again has been brought to this House. Mr. Speaker, I would suggest it this way, Honorable Speaker. In fact, the more they explain to us or they answer these questions, the more we are confused. Mr. Speaker, I would suggest if you give them more time, they go and reconcile their thoughts. At the same time, they look at the facts and then bring a correct information to this House, Mr. Speaker. Because from the start of this session, Mr. Speaker, the cabinet secretaries, they have been taking us around. At one point, they are saying the companies are not registered. And at another point, they are saying they are registered, but only for data collections. Mr. Speaker, we are not going to get correct answers from the cabinet secretaries now. I would ask that, Mr. Speaker, you direct that they go back and they bring us a correct and satisfactory answers.
Order, honorable members, for avoidance of doubt, honorable ministers, the Companies Act, Section 974, says as follows. A foreign company shall not carry on business in Kenya unless on business in Kenya, unless it's repeated, it is registered under this part, or it has applied to be so registered and the application is pending. So what WorldCoin is doing is illegal, even under the Companies Act, but I agree with Kangoko Bowen that ministers, you can see and feel, you can stop disparaging our ministers. You can see and feel the representatives of the people from where they sit. And I think this was captured by Makali Mulu. What has the mining of Kenyans' iris got to do with cryptocurrency? I think that is the issue. And that you are investigating, I'll give because